0200 hours, Western Pacific Ocean. The carrier strike group cuts a foaming white wake through pitch-black water. Heavy clouds blot out the moon and stars, creating a suffocating void where the sea meets the sky. On the flight deck of the carrier, handlers in yellow jerseys marshal the last aircraft recovery of the night shift. The roar of jet engines competes with the rhythmic crashing of swells against the massive steel hull. Inside the Combat Information Center of the lead destroyer, the air conditioning hums a monotonous drone. Green light washes over the faces of tired radar operators, staring at the sweeping lines of their scopes. The coffee is cold, the silence is heavy. A single pixel flickers on the long-range sensor grid, then another, then 10 more. The operator leans forward, eyes narrowing as the screen fills with jagged red contacts. These are not glitches. They are moving fast, skimming the waves. The tactical officer slams his hand onto the alert button. "General quarters, inbound missiles!" he screams into the comms. The alarm klaxon shreds the quiet, pulsing a harsh, rhythmic warning throughout the ship. Sailors tumble out of their bunks, boots slamming onto metal grating as they rush to battle stations. The destroyer heels hard to starboard as the helm swings the bow violently into the threat axis. Above deck, the rotary cannons spin up with a high-pitched mechanical whine. The barrels tilt toward the dark horizon. The radar tracks multiply rapidly until they merge into a solid wall of incoming ordnance. The captain grips the railing on the bridge. He barks orders for countermeasures. Chaff canisters burst in the air overhead, creating blooming clouds of metallic confusion. Decoy flares arc into the night, burning with intense magnesium white light. But the red dots on the screens do not deviate. They lock on. The first missile closes the distance at supersonic speed. The destroyer's forward guns pivot and spit fire, sending streams of tracers streaking into the dark. The horizon lights up with the flash of distant boosters. The deceptive lull is shattered. The ocean is no longer empty, it is a kill zone. 0215 hours, defensive perimeter. The night sky is no longer black. It pulses with the strobe light flashes of tracer fire and exploding flares. The roar is deafening, a continuous rolling thunder that vibrates through the steel decks of the escorts. Thousands of rounds of tungsten ammunition scream from the rotary cannons of the destroyers, cutting glowing arcs into the dark. The air smells of spent cordite and burning magnesium. The defensive screen is saturated. For every missile the weapon systems disintegrate, 2 more slip through the wall of lead. The horizon is a jagged line of burning rocket motors closing in. A sea-skimming cruise missile jinks past the final burst of chaff. It slams into the port side of the lead frigate. The warhead detonates deep inside the hull. 3 inches of reinforced steel plate peel back like wet cardboard. A massive fireball engulfs the midship section, instantly vaporizing the launcher deck. The concussion wave hurls sailors against bulkheads. Black smoke belches from the wound, choking the night air. Secondary explosions ripple through the vessel as ammunition cook-offs shatter the superstructure. Glass from the bridge windows showers down onto the deck below. Another missile strikes the stern of a flanking destroyer. The helicopter hangar disintegrates. The impact shears the tail off the parked helicopter and sprays burning aviation fuel across the fantail. Metal shrapnel flies in all directions, cutting through hydraulic lines and radar cabling. The ship shudders violently, listing 10 degrees to starboard. On the carrier, the flight deck crew dives for cover as debris from the escorts rains down on the runway. Twisted metal, burning insulation, and jagged chunks of hull plating. The Commodore slams his fist onto the tactical table. He yells into the secure net, his voice cutting through the static. "Tighten the formation. All ships close the line. Protect the high-value unit." The burning frigate slows to a crawl, water rushing into the breach. The ocean surface reflects the orange glow of the burning fleet. The water is thick with oil and wreckage. 0230 hours, high altitude over the fleet. The carrier flight deck is a frenzied ballet of steam and noise. Catapult officers signal in the dark, their lit wands cutting sharp arcs. Blast deflectors rise, twin engines ignite with blue flame. A fighter jet slams down the runway and punches a hole in the humid air, climbing vertically into the clouds. Another follows seconds later, then another. They form a defensive wedge, hunting for the heavy radar signatures closing from the north. The enemy bomber squadron emerges from the cloud layer. They are massive, lumbering shapes laden with anti-ship cruise missiles. The lead fighter jet pilot locks the target. He squeezes the trigger. A long-range air-to-air missile drops from the wing, ignites, and streaks away like a meteor. It closes the distance in seconds. The warhead impacts the lead bomber's starboard engine. The explosion shreds the bomber's wing. The massive aircraft rolls violently, structural integrity failing under the torque. It disintegrates in mid-air, showering the ocean miles below with burning aluminum. But the enemy escorts react instantly. Enemy fighters dive from high altitude, cannons blazing. Tracers zip past the canopy of the lead friendly jet. The pilot banks hard left, pulling 9 Gs. The airframe groans under the stress. He reverses the turn and snaps the nose up. The enemy fighter overshoots. The friendly pilot fires his cannon. The 20mm rounds tear through the enemy fuselage. The enemy canopy shatters. Smoke trails from the doomed aircraft as it spirals down into the black water. "Break formation, engage individual targets," the squadron commander yells over the radio. The sky dissolves into a chaotic furball. Flares pop and burn to confuse heat seekers. Missiles crisscross the darkness, leaving twisting trails of white smoke. A friendly jet takes a direct hit to the tail. The rear section vanishes in a flash of orange. The aircraft tumbles end over end. The canopy blows off. The ejection seat rockets the pilot into the freezing slipstream just as the fuel tanks ignite. Burning wreckage rains down on the fleet below. Large chunks of fuselage splash into the sea, hissing as they hit the water. The sky is full of fire. 02:45 hours, deep ocean. The surface battle is a distant, muffled thrum. 500 feet down, the attack submarine glides through the crushing dark. The air inside is cold and smells of recycled oxygen. Crewmen sit hunched over glowing consoles in the sonar room. The silence is absolute, broken only by the faint hum of the reactor coolant pumps. The pressure hull groans, a constant reminder of the weight of the water pressing in from all sides. A bead of sweat drips from the sonar operator's nose onto the keyboard. He stiffens. A screech cuts through his headphones. "Con sonar, transient, torpedo in the water, bearing 090, close range." The captain shouts the order instantly. "Right full rudder, flank speed, deploy countermeasures." The submarine banks violently to the right. The deck tilts 40 degrees. Books, coffee mugs, and loose tools slide across the floor, crashing into the bulkheads. Outside, a canister ejects, creating a bubbling wall of noise to confuse the seeker head. The enemy torpedo screams past the hull, missing by mere feet. The wake turbulences shakes the submarine like a toy. "Snapshot, tubes 1 and 2, fire!" the weapons officer yells. Compressed air hisses. 2 heavyweight torpedoes shoot from the bow tubes. They accelerate through the black water, their propellers churning a cavitation trail. The wire guidance spools unwind rapidly. The enemy submarine attempts to dive, blowing ballast tanks in a desperate panic. It is too slow. The first torpedo slams into the enemy's forward section. The warhead detonates. The explosion rips the pressure hull open. The ocean rushes in with the force of a freight train, instantly crushing the internal compartments. The enemy submarine breaks its back. The steel screams as it twists and tears apart. A massive bubble of escaping air roars to the surface. Inside the friendly boat, the crew grips their stations as the shockwave hits them. The lights flicker and die, plunging the command center into red emergency lighting. "Sonar report!" the captain barks, his voice tight. "Target destroyed, sir. Breaking up, no other contacts." The hull settles. The wreckage of the enemy vessel spirals down into the abyss. 0300 hours. Forward operating base, remote Pacific atoll. Rain lashes against the corrugated tin roof of the command bunker. Outside, young Marines huddle in flooded foxholes, muddy water seeping into their boots. The jungle is a wall of black shadows and dripping vegetation. A sentry wipes rain from his night vision goggles. The ocean surf pounds the coral reef 100 yards away, masking all other sounds. The air smells of wet earth and rotting vegetation. A low rumble vibrates the ground, distinct from the thunder. The sentry freezes. He looks out to sea. Dark shapes detach themselves from the waves. They are not waves. They are amphibious assault vehicles. Dozens of them. The engines roar as they hit the shallow water. "Contact front!" the sentry screams. He fires a red flare. It bursts overhead, bathing the white sand in blood-red light. The ramps of the lead landing craft slam down onto the beach. Enemy shock troops pour out, weapons raised. The machine gun nest on the ridge opens up instantly. Heavy rounds stitch a line across the water, punching holes in the steel ramp of a transport. Enemy soldiers fall, bodies splashing into the surf. But more surge forward, climbing over the fallen. A mortar round whistles in. It impacts the sandbag wall of the sentry post. The explosion throws the Marine backward into the mud. Sandbags disintegrate. Shrapnel shreds the camouflage netting and cuts down a palm tree. Enemy infantry reach the dune line. They hurl grenades into the fighting positions. A Marine kicks a grenade back. It detonates in midair. Wet sand sprays everywhere. An enemy soldier jumps into the trench, bayonet fixed. The Marine swings his rifle stock, smashing the attacker's jaw. Bone cracks. He fires point blank. The enemy soldier collapses into the mud. The platoon commander grabs the field telephone. He yells into the handset, his voice cracking with strain. "Broken Arrow, we are overrun, requesting immediate artillery support, danger close." But the enemy momentum is too heavy. An enemy battle tank rolls off a hovercraft, its tracks crushing the pristine sand. It rotates its turret toward the bunker. The main gun fires. The command post vanishes in a cloud of concrete dust and fire. The first line of defense is gone. 0315 hours, Combat Information Center, guided missile frigate. The room is a cool, dim sanctuary of blue light and humming servers. Tactical officers track the battle on large digital displays, watching icons move in real time via the fleet data link. The flow of information is precise. Suddenly, a high-pitched shriek tears through every headset in the room. The main tactical screens flicker violently and dissolve into static white noise. Radar scopes wash out, blinded by a massive wall of electronic interference. The data link severs. The GPS signal vanishes. The ship is instantly deaf and blind. "Jamming! High-power broad spectrum!" the electronic warfare officer yells, tearing his headset off. The captain sprints to the bridge wing. He looks out into the night. The digital fog of war has lifted, revealing the physical reality. Two enemy corvettes emerge from the smoke bank less than a mile off the port bow. They are fast, sleek, and closing at flank speed. Without radar guidance, the ship's long-range missiles are useless. "All stations manual control, optical targeting only, engage port side," the captain screams. Gun crews on the .50 caliber mounts frantically rack charging handles. The forward 57mm deck gun slews around, its hydraulic motors whining. The gunner looks through the optical sight, lining up the crosshairs on the lead enemy vessel. He stomps on the firing pedal. The cannon erupts. Shells eject from the breech, clattering onto the deck. The rounds traverse the short distance in a heartbeat, slamming into the enemy corvette's superstructure. Sparks shower the water as steel armor shatters. The enemy bridge windows blow out. But the enemy returns fire instantly. A barrage of 30mm autocannon fire rakes the frigate's port side. The rounds punch through the thin hull plating like paper. Steam pipes burst, scalding the air. A burst impacts the radar mast, shearing it off at the base. The heavy metal array crashes down onto the deck, crushing a life raft canister. Tracer fire from both ships crosses in the air, creating a deadly lattice of light. A sailor on the port machine gun takes a hit to the shoulder and spins backward, blood spraying the bulkhead. A medic rushes forward, slipping on the wet steel, dragging the wounded man behind a vent stack. The ships pass each other at point-blank range, trading heavy blows until the darkness swallows the enemy vessels once more. 0330 hours, flight deck, aircraft carrier. The massive vessel turns into the wind, cutting through the heavy swell. On the illuminated runway, the crash and salvage team stands by near the island. Refueling hoses snake across the non-skid surface like thick black pythons. Crews in purple jerseys pump thousands of gallons of volatile JP-5 fuel into a row of armed fighter jets. The air reeks of kerosene and salt spray. The noise is a constant, ear-shattering roar of engines and wind. A streak of white light tears the sky open directly overhead. It moves too fast for the human eye to track. The close-in weapon systems spin and fire, but the tungsten rounds chase a ghost. The hypersonic glider penetrates the defensive bubble. It slams vertically into the midships deck. The impact cracks the 3-inch steel plating like glass. The warhead detonates instantly. A blinding sphere of orange fire expands outward, vaporizing the two nearest fighter jets. The concussion wave flattens every sailor within 100 feet. Burning fuel sprays across the deck, coating men and machines in liquid fire. A parked attack helicopter on the elevator catches the blast. Its rotor blades shear off, spinning violently into the control tower. The glass of the primary flight control shatters, showering the air boss with shards. A fully fueled jet engulfed in flames cooks off. Its underwing missile explodes. The secondary blast rips the landing gear off the aircraft and flips the multi-ton machine onto its back. "Fire! Fire on the deck! Mass casualty!" the loud hailer screams. Damage control teams sprint into the inferno, clad in silver proximity suits. They drag heavy hoses toward the burning wreckage. Water cannons from the island spray foam onto the spreading lake of fire. A tractor driver rams a burning jet, pushing the flaming wreckage toward the edge. He keeps the throttle pinned. The burning plane teeters and falls into the ocean, hissing as it hits the water. A sailor, clothes smoking, stumbles out of the black smoke and collapses. A corpseman tackles him, patting out the flames. The deck is a graveyard of twisted metal and charred composite. Thick black smoke billows up, choking out the moon. 0345 hours, airspace over the contested island. The surviving squadron of 4 attack jets screams toward the enemy beachhead at treetop level. The burning carrier is miles behind them, a distant glow on the horizon. Ahead, the island is a chaotic map of tracer fire and explosions. The pilots fly on anger and adrenaline. Their fuel states are critical. Their payload is heavy. The enemy amphibious fleet sits anchored just off the reef, disgorging more tanks and troops onto the sand. Red anti-aircraft fire reaches up from the enemy destroyers like angry fingers. Flak bursts create black puffs of smoke in the flight path. The lead pilot ignores the warning screaming in his headset. He pushes the throttle to the stops. The afterburners kick in, pushing the aircraft to supersonic speed. A shockwave cones around the fuselage. He pulls up sharply, climbing to release altitude. The targeting pod locks onto the largest silhouette in the water, the enemy amphibious transport dock. "Rifle! Rifle!" he yells. Two 2,000-pound laser-guided bombs detach from the wing pylons. They fall silently through the dark, fins correcting their trajectory. The pilot banks hard right to escape the blast radius. The first bomb punches through the flight deck of the transport ship. It penetrates 3 decks down into the vehicle storage bay. The delayed fuse triggers. The ship disembowels itself. A massive column of fire erupts from the center of the vessel, blowing the smokestack clean off. The hull buckles amidships, lifting the bow and stern out of the water before snapping the keel. The second bomb strikes the waterline. The explosion sends a geyser of water and debris 300 feet into the air. Armored vehicles stored on the deck are hurled into the sea like toys. Burning fuel cascades down onto the landing craft clustered alongside. The wingman follows up. He releases a canister of cluster munitions over the second wave of landing craft approaching the beach. The canister opens. Hundreds of bomblets rain down, covering a football field-sized area. The water boils. The landing craft are shredded. Aluminum hulls rip open, engines explode. Enemy soldiers are cut down in the surf, the water turning dark with oil and blood. The invasion force grinds to a halt in a wall of fire and sinking steel. 0400 hours, deck of the crippled enemy destroyer. The warship lists 20 degrees to port. Its superstructure a blackened skeleton of twisted steel. Black smoke pours from a massive rent in the hull, whipped into a violent vortex by the rotor wash of the hovering Special Operations helicopter. The heavy thrum of the blades drowns out the groaning metal of the dying ship. Inside the open cabin door, the team leader holds up a gloved fist. The operators stand ready, weapons tight against their chests. The air smells of burning electrical wire, ozone, and aviation exhaust. The thick fast rope kicks out the door and coils onto the tilting helipad. The team leader chops his hand down. The first operator grabs the rope and slides, his gloves smoking from the friction. His boots slam onto the non-skid deck. He instantly raises his suppressed assault rifle, scanning the shadows. The rest of the stack lands behind him in rapid succession. They move with fluid precision toward the watertight door leading to the bridge. The breacher slaps a strip of flexible explosive charge against the hinges. "Breaching!" he yells. He triggers the detonator. The explosion blows the heavy steel door inward. It tears off its frame and clangs down the corridor. Smoke rushes out. The point man throws a flashbang grenade into the gap. It detonates with a blinding white strobe and a concussive boom. The team surges into the smoke. Red emergency lighting bathes the narrow hallway in a blood-colored gloom. An enemy sailor stumbles out of a side hatch, raising a submachine gun. The point man fires twice. 2 rounds strike the sailor's chest plate. The force throws him back against the bulkhead. He slides down the wall, leaving a smear of blood. The team steps over the body, moving deeper into the ship. They reach the Combat Information Center. The door is locked. The breacher uses a shotgun with a frangible slug to blow the lock mechanism apart. The team leader kicks the door open. Inside, an enemy officer is frantically smashing a server rack with a fire axe, trying to destroy the hard drives. He spins around, reaching for a pistol on the desk. The team leader fires 1 shot. The round hits the officer's shoulder, spinning him around. He drops the axe and collapses. The tech specialist rushes the server, ripping the hard drive enclosure from the mount. Sparks shower down from severed cables. "Package secured, moving to extraction," the team leader shouts. The ship lurches violently. The floor tilts further. Water rushes down the corridor, swirling around their boots. The groaning of the steel hull turns into a high-pitched scream as the bulkheads begin to fail. 0415 hours, the killing zone. The sophisticated long-range missile duel has devolved into a brutal, close-quarters brawl. Thick black smoke blankets the water, stinging the eyes and throat. The ocean is churned into a frothing mess by hundreds of erratic wakes. On the bridge of the battered destroyer, the captain wipes blood from a cut on his forehead. The vertical launch cells are empty. The main gun barrel is warped from overheating. The silence is gone, replaced by the relentless mechanical screaming of collision alarms and the groaning of stressed steel. A massive shape looms out of the fog bank less than 400 yards to starboard. It is an enemy destroyer, burning from the stern but still moving under power. Its forward turret rotates slowly, targeting the bridge. It is too close for missiles. It is too close to miss. "Hard to starboard, ramming speed, brace for impact," the captain yells. The helmsman spins the wheel. The ship heels over violently, water washing over the rail. The enemy ship fires. The shell screams overhead, severing the radio mast. It explodes in the water on the far side, showering the deck with hot shrapnel. The distance closes in seconds. The bows cross. The ships collide. 20,000 tons of steel smash together. The sound is earth-shattering, a screeching, tearing roar that drowns out the ocean. Sparks the size of fireworks shower down between the vessels. The impact throws the bridge crew across the room. Monitors shatter. A massive section of the enemy hull plate rips loose, exposing the interior compartments to the open air. Sailors on the deck grab assault rifles. They fire across the narrow gap at the enemy crew visible through the breach. A heavy machine gun on the enemy bridge wing opens up. Bullets pockmark the steel plating, sparking on impact. Bridge glass shatters, spraying the helm. A sailor takes a round to the leg and falls, screaming. The momentum carries the ships past each other. They scrape along their entire lengths, grinding metal against metal, destroying lifeboats and railings. Finally, they separate into the gloom. The enemy vessel is dead in the water, listing 40 degrees. The destroyer limps on, pumps pulsing water from the bilge, leaving a trail of oil in its wake.